Hey everybody, JJ here, back with another Saturday Zoom networking. Really excited about this call today. We're going to be talking about money, everybody's favorite topic. We're going to be talking about how to protect your money. Our guest speaker is a gentleman who's a coach. He's an entrepreneur, a businessman, trainer, leader, father, just an all-around great guy and someone I highly, highly respect. If you guys are familiar with the Fortune Builder program, Rob has been one of their most well-known coaches for quite a while and extremely highly respected. I want to introduce our guest speaker today, Rob McIntosh. Rob, how are you today?
I'm doing well, JJ. Thank you for having me on your event here on a Saturday afternoon. Thank you.
Oh, hey, I am truly honored to have you here. In my journey of real estate education, I've been a real estate owner of commercial property for over 30 years, but I've been pursuing my education to learn how to make my network grow for the last 4 years. And it wasn't too long when I was in that I heard your name, and everybody knew you, and you're highly respected. And I'm like, gosh, I'd love to be able to meet this guy one day. And of course, eventually our paths crossed, and we got a chance to meet and shake hands and get to know one another. And, out of my networking here, I've met you, and you're here today to share your wisdom with everybody else. I wanted to ask you, how long have you been in real estate? Is it something you transitioned into? Did you do it right out of high school?
I've been in real estate now for about 15 years, so it's sort of my second career. My first career, and like so many other entrepreneurs, I have multiple businesses, but was a specialty auto parts business. Actually, is where I originally started, fresh out of college, etc. It was a family-owned business. We had close to 150 employees in that business, and we grew that. And then I sold out or took my share and went into real estate. And that's indirectly how we got involved in real estate, was through some commercial stuff as well as land development and other things. But I'll share a little bit more about my background. All right. Thank you, JJ. Again, thank you for allowing me to be part of your networking group here today, etc. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of names that I recognize, a lot of names I don't recognize, and that's good, so to speak. I definitely don't know everyone, that's for sure. As JJ had mentioned before, I was also involved with Fortune Builders, is where my, I'll say, real estate career in terms of formal education started, and basically started with their program many, many, many moons ago, so to speak, when it was really, I was probably in the first 3 years from when they opened their doors, etc. So it's been a while. And you'll see, basically, I'll share a screen with you with a little bit of my background and the rest. And today's topic that we're going to be talking about is, as JJ mentioned, money, but more or less protecting your money or protecting your investment, so to speak. We're going to talk about scams from both hard money and private money side of things. And trust me, these do exist, and there is plenty of them out there of ways that you can potentially lose some money. I am a minor victim myself of this, so don't think that I know absolutely everything. I did lose a little bit on a particular lender that more or less offered some really great terms, etc. So let me share my screen here, and we'll get into this. We're going to do, as I mentioned, some private money, hard money lending scams. And, there's no shortage of them out there. For those of us who are involved in real estate, obviously, money is a big factor. Okay, buying these houses, whether it be rentals, whether, it be traditional fix and flip, whatever, most of us don't have a bottomless checkbook. So in essence, we need to borrow money, whether that be from hard money, private money in combination, or obviously investing our own money. So we're going to get into that in a little bit here, but let me just share a little bit about my background for just a moment or two. I'll keep it short. As I mentioned, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Presently, I have 5 different businesses right now. And, I mentioned that one there, my last business, the auto parts business that I exited from, my brothers took over. I exited from that. As I said, I started back in 2008, more or less, in the real estate business. Right now, I've pivoted. That's a fancy term that's been thrown around a lot recently. I've pivoted from doing rehabs, especially since the pandemic kicked in going a little bit more towards the rentals. I've been building my rental portfolio over the years. We're up to about 30 units at this particular point in time. And again, as I said, that's something that builds over time. Numerous flips, wholesale deals, the rentals, the commercials. In the bottom right quadrant, you can sort of see one of the commercial deals that we did on this sort of quasi strip plaza. It was a U-shaped building, or U-shaped multiple buildings there. Obviously, for those who have been involved with Fortune Builders, obviously I was involved in there, being coach there for 2 of the 8 years, etc. I've done well over 12,000 calls. That might need to be revised, but we'll stick with 12,000. I'd rather be conservative. You have one of the highest student deal completion ratios, which is always important, because trust me, there's a lot of people that talk the talk, but they never do the walk. They never make that first deal. There's always some reason, some portion of it that they just can't quite get over that final hurdle. I also am part owner of a real estate brokerage here in the Buffalo, New York market. And as it says at the very bottom, I'm based here in Buffalo. Obviously, a different market than many other areas. We are a very low price market compared to some areas, but it shows you can work anywhere, whether it be here in Buffalo, whether it be San Diego, Phoenix, Dallas, the big metropolitan areas, or more rural areas. So let's dig right in here. Okay, enough about me. Is what are the differences between a private money lender and a hard money lender? And I will admit there are some variables here. This is not an absolute clear-cut differentiation, but this, in my opinion, gives you a pretty solid understanding. And I know for many of you, this may be repeats, okay? But a private money lender is, generally speaking, a family member, friend, individuals looking for a better return than a traditional investment, such as a bank, a money market, mutual funds, traditional stock market options out there, etc. We all know the stock market this year is in the crapper. There's no secret. The crypto world is in the crapper. So it is, in my opinion, right now, a little bit easier on the private money side, okay? Because when you're offering a pretty solid return on their investment, etc., it can be very enticing. The hard money lender, okay, is truly a business. That's the big distinction. They are a business that is in business to make loans, very often to real estate loans or rental properties. Can be other things as well. These can be both long and short term, such as the fix and flip loans, the rental rehab loans. Very often we'll use hard money, for example, to buy a rental that's in deplorable condition and then refinance out after we get it stabilized, so to speak. These are generally asset-based loans, okay? They lend anywhere from, it could be 70%, but I would say 75 to 90% LTV range is typical. They usually do require appraisals, copies of your purchase contract, your repair estimates, all before being approved for the loan. We're going to get into these a little bit more. Now, there also is a quasi area that is what I call sort of a hybrid. You got to be careful on this. I see many hard money lenders advertise as private money lenders. Okay. I'm not saying that's really right or it's wrong. I'm just simply saying we have to be cautious on what we're looking at, etc. When you see these hard money, or especially hard money lenders, some of them, as I said, sort of cater towards the private money, and they'll say low rates, and yeah, that may or may not be true. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit in detail. So, typical process where we find some of these potential scammers. I just made a quickie little list here. Okay, obviously Craigslist is definitely a hotbed. If I know on our Craigslist in our area, if you go, for example, to the real estate section, whether it be real estate for sale by owners or the financial services section, you very often will see people there. Facebook is definitely out there as well. I just saw one this past week here, or earlier this week. Um, you know, lending at 4.5%, unsecured loans, etc. I'm like, I just question that a little bit. Facebook groups. There are definitely some groups out there that are legit, and there are some Facebook groups that are not. LinkedIn. This is where actually the one that I got slightly scammed on was actually in LinkedIn. Okay. Instagram, all your social media platforms, generally speaking. If you just Google private lenders and put your area in, private lenders, San Diego, private lenders, Western New York, wherever, private lenders, Twin Cities. Okay. You definitely will find people coming up in there. Emails, obviously, very often they are getting your information, however they are obtaining it, sometimes probably legally, sometimes probably not so, we'll say a little sketchy, but in essence, I've gotten not a lot, but very often emails from that perspective. Text messaging is another common form right now as well. So, these are just places. I'm not saying there are not good lenders in these places. I'm just saying these are some of the more common areas that you will find some of these scams, so to speak. And very often, for those who have put a property under contract or whatever, sometimes you get down to the crunch time and you're a little more vulnerable. You've got to close next week, Wednesday, and you're still seeking $45,000. You're starting to look anywhere and everywhere. Okay. And I understand that. You're into what I loosely call the dialing for dollars mode. Okay. So just be aware of that. Some of the typical things I see on posts, or even if you are reaching out to them, is a low credit score. Okay. Example, 600 or lower FICO scores. I'm going to just be honest with you guys. I understand some of you may have some, quote, credit score challenges. I understand that there are ways around that. But for today's conversation, we're going to keep this at, basic level. They are still going to pull your FICO score. Okay. Or we have ways that we could submit the score to them from Experian, from TransUnion, Equifax, creditkarma.com for the initial conversations. Again, these are asset-based loans, especially on the hard money ones. So in general, just be aware if you are in that low 600 range, there are many lenders that cut off at 620, 640. Okay. Doesn't mean that, I'm dead, I can't do real estate. It does not mean that. Okay. It just means we have to look elsewhere. Super simple applications. Most applications aren't going to be terribly complex. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But they, where you just give them your name, potentially your address. We're going to come back to that here in a second on the address. Really, literally super basic information. We'll have you approved in 24 to 48 hours, and we'll wire you the money within that time frame. That's usually another telltale sign. Most require at least 3 to 7 days to vet the entire project. LTV, loan to value, again, I've seen some 95%. That's not very common. Okay. As I said before, most are in the 70%, 75% to maybe 90%. Okay. On private loans, as I mentioned before, the instant approval, close in 7 days. I've even seen same day funding. There's one ad that I saw on TV that just stands out in my mind. It was legal. It was sort of hard for me to believe someone would do this, but it was an ad by a Native American group. Okay. And they point blank, they didn't hide it. They said, do you need money? We can get 10,000 in your bank account tomorrow. Call the number below. In the super fine print, which is only on the screen on the TV for a short period of time, but I wanted to check it out. The interest rate, you better put your seatbelts on, was 82%. Yeah, that's 82%. Basically, if pretty much, I didn't go any further than that. That's just crazy. Okay. That's sort of in that payday loan scam concept, you might say. But again, you could say to yourself, well, Rob, how could they get away with that? Okay, there are legal government rules. Not when you're a Native American nation. They are exempt from many of these rules. I'm not saying don't borrow from Native Americans. Please don't take it the wrong way. I'm just simply saying there are some different rules in their particular set or particular circumstances. The no credit pool possible, etc. No need for appraisals. I rarely know a hard money lender that is not going to do an appraisal. Okay, almost all of them do, unless the deal is extremely, I'll say, just like a no-brainer. Okay, most of them are going to either make you pay for the appraisal or they're going to do their own quote desktop appraisal. Okay, but that is an expense that typically the appraisal is a very common expense that you as the borrower will incur. So just be aware of some of these things. Um, you know, when you're filling out applications, what I want to do to help protect you, so to speak, is, I'm sorry, basically, very often I see no physical address for the lender. Okay, that's a real red flag in my opinion. Okay, or an email account that is a Gmail, Yahoo, AOL even. Okay, although it still exists. It's not as common, but if you're a private lender or for sure a hard money lender and you don't even have the money or the ability to obtain a regular, um, you know, I'm going to call it email server, that's a definite red flag in my opinion. Okay. So just be aware of that. Again, I'm profiling people to some extent here, poor English or grammar errors. Okay, I've seen applications or where they're emailing back and forth to me, etc. Because I often follow up on a lot of these just because I do a lot of coaching, trying to get a little bit of a heads up on some of them. Grammatical errors, just the wording, so to speak, can very often be a telltale sign, not a guarantee, but a telltale sign. I'll get that right sooner or later. Facebook pics, okay. JJ went over this a little bit much earlier in the call on like people doing a little bit of background research on the person. I had one that the picture was, I'm going to call it a classic US looking citizen, probably age 65 to 70, a bit overweight, had a dog in his lap. Okay, very, very common. When I kept pushing on this potential loan, I said, well, why don't we just talk and do a Zoom call? Nope, can't do Zoom. No, can't do that at all. But he was willing to do a traditional phone call. Well, his, I'll say, dialect clearly did not sound like a 60-plus-year-old US citizen. Okay. Plus, I could hear a lot of background chatter of noise, etc., which sort of gave me the telltale sign again of this is a call center that's just cranking through in some country. Okay. Unwillingness to talk, as I said to you on the phone. I've had some that absolutely will not. It is email communication only, period. Okay. And then also sometimes large credit lines. Now, there is a difference on credit lines, is something to be aware of. That word or words can be used different ways. I feel a credit line is truly literally like a checking account. You can write a check and go to the casino tonight if you wanted to. Versus a credit line that a lot of real estate credit lines are, I'm going to use the analogy when you were a youth, you went to mom or dad and said, hey, I want to go with my friends to the movie. Could I have $10? That, in a way, is a credit line. You had to ask permission to obtain the money. And there are a lot of real estate credit lines where they'll say, we'll give you a $2 million line of credit. Okay. It is for real estate, but usually in most cases, it still has to be approved by them before they're going to give you the money. It's not like you have a checking account, as I said before, you can just write the check. So just be aware of some of these nuances when you're looking for funding. Some of the typical ways, again, that they try to tease you in, the low interest rate. Let's be real. Right now in today's world, 3-4% is not, is this generally not out there anymore. Okay. Most hard money loans that I'm seeing right now are, depending on, again, your experience rating and some other things, are anywhere from on the low side, 7-8%, to as high as 12%. Okay. For a hard money, private money, again, is usually is going to be a little bit more. I'm seeing a hard or private money in the 10 to 14% range is not uncommon. Again, that quick funding, we need to close on a project next week, Wednesday. Your timeline is shrinking. Okay. And, you're getting, I don't want to say desperate, but oh, let me check them out. They said they can fund in, 3 days. That'll make it. Okay. The pre-approval with literally super basic information. They're playing into your needs for, they're seeing your, I don't want to say desperation, but your need for that money to be quick. And very often making that decision may not be the best decision possible. Okay. So, again, some things not to give them. Okay. At least at the beginning. Now, again, some of these may be required, but I don't want to just fill out an application online with this information. I want to do some vetting ahead of time. Personally, never, ever, 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 ever give them your social security number. Okay. Most of us in the real estate world should have an EIN number, an employer identification number. Okay. Same number of digits, 9, just like your social security. Let's give them that first. And let's see, where they go with that. Again, we may have to give them our SS number. I don't like giving the date of birth either, because with those two pieces of information, just those two, oh man, you potentially can be screwed big time. Okay, because they can very often find where you live, etc., just from that information. Okay. Plus, with social media out there, JJ sort of touched on this. Putting your state up there. Not to pick on you, JJ. If they find you in social media and you're in Arizona or California, whatever you are, again, this can potentially backfire on you. But trust me, if they really want to find it, they're going to probably be able to. One of the big things I do to protect myself, okay, is I always, for my lending, okay, whether I'm lending money out or I'm borrowing money in, if they are sending it to me directly, and yes, sometimes I have lenders that will not go through a title company or an escrow, especially a private lender who might be funding 25,000 or 50,000, for example, on the rehab portion of it or on some portion of the deal. Okay, I use a totally separate bank account. Hint here, I also use this bank account for my taxes. Okay, like estimated tax payments. I'm sorry to say I don't necessarily trust, I'll say, our government giving them my routing number into my main account, etc. I'm just not a fan of that. Some of you may disagree with me, and that's fine. Okay, but it doesn't cost a penny to open another bank account. Okay, and just put $50 in it. Okay. And that way my money goes in or comes out of that. And if they somehow steal my bank account information or I have to give that to them, what are they going to do with it? Is it a totally different bank than the bank I bank with my regular? I go to a totally different bank, as well as obviously, a different account number. So just a suggestion on that. Okay. And then as a comment, again, your personal address. I use my business address. Now, I know for many of us here at the beginning, your personal address and business address may be one and the same. I do generally recommend segregating that at some point in time. Okay. And that way you're sort of, again, putting a semi-invisible firewall up there. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that to you as well. Another big thing is fees. Okay. To protect yourself, I'm going to say most all fees. I put the word all fees are paid at closing. Generally speaking, that's true. Okay. Never pay upfront fees. Again, that's possible. Okay. Again, very often there are an application fee. If we're talking $150 and it can be put on a credit card, which most of the legitimate ones will be able to do, okay, that's fine. I have no problem because when it's on a credit card, I can always protest it. The only two fees generally you have to pay up front generally would be an application fee. As I said, it's usually less than $200, okay, and very often the appraisal. Now, the appraisal, many times I've had cases where they allow me to pay the appraiser directly, okay, or use a credit card again. That gives you the maximum amount of leverage. Every hard money lender I've used gave me either or option. I can charge it on a credit card, or they connect me directly with the appraiser and I can pay them directly, okay. And then in relation to the credit scores, okay, pulling your FICO score and the rest, very often I would recommend, if nothing else, if you subscribe, and I know that will be a cost, and I have a no cost option as well. But if you subscribe to like Experian or any of them, you can monitor your own credit score and pull them as well. The one that is absolutely free, because many of them, again, are a little bit of, I'm going to call it bait and switch. Oh, you can, like, I'm going to pick on some of them like Capital One. And again, I'm not putting that company down. Okay. In essence, basically, you can, get 2 months of credit card monitoring and access your credit report, et cetera, for free. But after that, it's like $20, $30 a month. If you go to Credit Karma, now there are some disadvantages, but Credit Karma, and the Karma is with a K, K-A-R-M-A. That is a absolutely 100, to my knowledge, 100% free service. They are not going to hit you up for anything. Now, there are some little bit of disadvantages to it, but it allows you to get a pretty solid idea on where your FICO score is. Another thing that is not commonly shared, okay, or commonly known, is there are multiple FICO scoring systems. The one that most people refer to is FICO 8. Actually, they number them, okay? FICO 8 is the one, typically when you're applying for credit cards and general credit lines, etc., that's the one they're going to pull. There is also a FICO score that uses a different numbering system. It's like regular FICO is like, I don't want to say 0, but let's say 300 to 850. FICO for insurance has a different numbering system. In other words, I believe that's a 0 to 100 score. And believe it or not, there is a mortgage FICO score number. I believe that's FICO 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, and 5 refers to the credit company, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Please be aware, on some hard money lenders, they don't distinguish. They'll just simply say, oh, send us your FICO score, or you sign a little thing that they pull the FICO score, okay? Hard pulls on FICO will, I repeat, will affect your credit score. And that's very often they refer to this as a tri-merge report. It's another word or acronym that they use. A tri-merge means three meaning TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So just be aware, most of the time, if they are pulling, you could ask them. And sometimes I admit the person you're talking to on the phone may not know what FICO score they're pulling. That's underwriting, which can be a slightly different department than the salesperson that you may be talking to. But ask them. And what I usually do, at least for the initial conversation, they can do a soft pull if you need to, but I very often say, well, I'll tell you what, let me scan and email over to you my credit pull. I'll pull it myself. It'll be dated at the top and you can see it. Let's see what underwriting and the rest say about this, borrowing this X number of dollars, etc., and go from there. Most of them will do that. I mean, they will still have to pull it themselves in the end, but here for the beginning to see, what I call a term sheet Okay. I wanted to see what are they offering me. Okay. And that's something to be aware of. Okay. I know I'm, covering a lot there. Okay. Um, that's the big things I wanted to touch base on today. I want to share about just one of my experiences of the level that some of these people or potential scammers do go to. My contact information, I'm going to leave that on the screen there for right now. And then I know JJ, when we exit from this presentation, I think you may be going into breakout rooms, etc. But let me share an experience because I had a student actually bring this one to me. They were looking for like about just under 100,000, and that's a fair amount. Okay, and the interest rate was really pretty decent, 5.5%. And anyways, he sent me over all the information, and it enticed me enough. The way the wording was and all the rest, it all seemed pretty legit. All right. But what was interesting was, and I did play into it because I wanted to check it out myself. I was actually willing to make a little bit of a financial contribution. I did the $150 application fee, no problem. What seemed weird to me is they asked me my name, never asked me my SS number, so that's good. They never asked me my address. They just asked me my city and state. Interesting, a little twist because they probably feel they can find me. Okay. Um, Everything went fine. Okay. Gave them the address of the property, so on and so forth. And they came back one day later and said, yep, you're approved for the $100,000. And I was like, okay, great. This is super. Let's take it to the next step. What's required next? And then basically that's where it started to go a little bit downhill. They said, all right, send over the address, of the property, the legal description, if you have it. They asked for a bunch of what I call general information. Okay. They still did not ask me my street address. Okay. They did want to know, this is what really scared me indirectly. They did want to know my bank name, bank routing number, and account number that they were going to be wiring this money into. Again, that's why I want to keep it absolutely separate. Okay. If they somehow get into that account, they're going to get a whopping $50. Big freaking deal. I can survive a $50 loss. All right. Then everything's fine. They come back and they say, yep, we're all set to wire the money. We just have one little more hurdle that came up in underwriting. Yes, for those who have done loans, underwriting is our nemesis, so to speak. The salesperson you're talking to on the phone, no problem, no problem, no problem. And who do they blame when they say they won't give you the money? Don't blame me. It's underwriting. That person, doesn't feel comfortable. So this time they came back and said underwriting is concerned, and what they want to do is they have you purchase or pay for an insurance policy that will pay us or make us whole if you default on the loan. Yes, this insurance does exist. There are companies that will do this type of insurance policy. I said, fine. Could you please forward to me the name of the company and the rest and their contact information, and I will pay them directly once I see the policy, the language of the policy, so on and so forth. Or I'm assuming I can get my own insurance company and have them write a policy and list you as the beneficiary if I default on this. And guess what the answer was? Oh, no, 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 no. You can't do that. You must use our insurance company. I said, fine. Send me over the policy, the typical, any policy, they're going to have all the information there. Okay. And no, we don't do that. For us to send you that information, we need you to wire $1,500, which is the premium for 1 year, of this $100,000 you're buying. And guess what? I said, fine, let's do it on a credit card. I don't know any insurance company that will not take credit cards for payment. Nope, can't do that. You got to wire it. And I said, well, I'm just not willing to do that. And then we got on the phone and the whole thing broke down. But you can see what the idea there was. They got the $150, no big deal. Okay. I can survive $150 hit. Okay. Then they're going for 1,500. They're giving you it's just low enough that you're going to say, oh God, man, I need that money by next week. Like, yeah, I'll go for it. I'll go for it. And I can virtually guarantee you that basically that money is probably going to be offshore, probably within 30 minutes of when it hits a US bank account. It was a actual, routing numbers. If you don't know, routing numbers will tell you the name of the bank. You can go online and bring just write in Wells Fargo, ABC, Credit Union, whatever. Those are all public information. So you can actually tell where that money is going from the routing number. Okay. So just be aware of that for what it's worth. All right. And then the whole thing broke down, et cetera, at that point. And as I said, when I talked to him, I sort of mentioned this earlier. When I talked to them actually on the phone, or this guy on the phone, it sort of reinforced that the picture on his LinkedIn profile was in his voice, et cetera. This guy supposedly, as I said, 65 years old, range bracket, lives in Birmingham, Alabama. And I'm talking to someone that definitely has a foreign sounding accent with tons of background noise. And I told the guy, I said, if you are a scam, I'm not saying you are, but I think you are, you need to invest in a better set of headphones that cancels or wipes out background noise, because it sounds like you're in a call center. And he goes, oh, no, trust me, I'm an honorable person, et cetera. I'm just calling you from where I work here, et cetera. I said, well, I appreciate that, but I think I'll pass on today's opportunity. And that was the end of it. So anyways, that's my presentation for right now. Let me exit out of here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're going to move into the breakout rooms in a minute, do some networking. After the breakout rooms, you guys stick around. We're going to have the Q&A. The breakout rooms are always fantastic. If you guys are watching the YouTube video right now on YouTube, please down below, like Rob's presentation, like the video, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But, before that, Rob, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. Great knowledge. I wanted to ask you, because we've got a networking group, and there's people looking to get into real estate from all over the place, and everyone's focusing on the deal. I like to say, don't chase the deal, chase a relationship. What is your perspective of the importance of networking for the new investor or the experienced investor in making their business happen?
I personally think it's critical. I mean, this is not, I'm loosely call it stock option trading, where I'm holed up in my basement in my boxer shorts with one light staring at the computer screen, and I'm trading day in and day out. Okay. To be successful in real estate, in my opinion, you have to network. That old saying, your network is your net worth. Okay. And, JJ, thank you for making this platform available at literally no cost to everybody. Okay. Whether you're involved in a real estate group or education platform or not. Okay. Talk to people, get out to real estate networking events. I mean, now that the pandemic is quasi over, okay, getting out there back in person, okay, take the appropriate precautions depending upon your health and other various things, but that's a great way of meeting people. Even if you're just meeting a person, for example, what I do, let me share this extra one here. This little, I know some of you have worked with me before. Before I even go to one of those networking events, I get those little "hello, my name is" stickers. Like if you were going to a family reunion and you might write your name or first name on there. You get them at obviously Amazon, anywhere online or in person at Target, grocery store, any of the Staples, so on and so forth. Before I even go to the meeting, I'll just take a Sharpie magic marker and put my name. You don't have to put your full name. Just Rob M in my case. But here's the secret underneath it. You could put, for example, rehabbers seeking properties or rehabbers seeking funding for a project. Put it on it. I put it in my wallet, go to the meeting. Now, many of these groups, you do fill out name tags. That's fine. But if you don't, have it in your purse, have it in your wallet. I get there, peel it off, stick it on my shirt, go into the meeting. Think about it. You're a miniature walking billboard. Even if you meet someone that, hey, Tom, how you doing, etc. Um, you know, if he's, hey, are you doing, you're doing a rehab? I don't have any projects right now, etc. Well, tell me about your last project. Oh, okay. Just open that conversation. And then I always hit them up. Hey, if you don't mind me asking, how did you fund that project? Oh, you used hard money or you used private money, or occasionally, no, I'm fortunate enough I had the capital to do it myself. I don't care what the answer is. It works to my advantage. If he funded it himself, phenomenal. Hey, that's absolutely great. Get his business card or exchange information electronically on your phone, however you want to do it. Okay. But in essence, that is a potential quote private lender for you. Okay. If he says, no, I used hard money. Oh, okay, great. If you don't mind me asking, who did you use? Just looking for the name of the company, whether it be someplace local or whether it be long distance. Okay. Doesn't hurt you to ask. The other question I also hit them up with, if they say, oh, yes, I used ABC lending. Okay. I'll say, hey, that's great. On your next project, would you be going back to them again for potential lending? What was your experience working with them? I'm looking basically like for the 5-star Yelp review, like a restaurant review. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to use them again. Or no freaking way. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to share an experience I just finished. There's a company, a mortgage lender. The name, am I allowed to say names, JJ, or I'm not allowed to say names?
I'd say you could say a name. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Again, I'm just saying the loan did close. Okay. So it all worked out. It's a company called Certain, Certain, Certain Lending. They're based out of the Northwest, basically Seattle and San Francisco. Okay. Sometimes they go under the name Vontive, V as in Victor, Ontive, Vontive. Started out great, went downhill very, very quickly. It took us, and this was on a redoing, basically taking advantage of the lower rates on a rental property. It took almost 5 months. That's not weeks, months to close on a refinance. And that's not a cash out refinance. That's just taking, more or less the appraisal and the rest. Yeah, I mean, every week was they missed something. It went through underwriting 4 times. How do you go through 4 times? That's crazy. I mean, it did close. The interest rate was good, but my experience with that company was on a 1 to 5 scale, a -2. Okay. So, not saying don't use them. I'm just saying proceed with caution. And I've talked to a few other people since then, and most people's experiences that I'm aware of have been unfortunately not terribly positive. Okay. So again, just you got to watch out for yourself. That's the only person that is going to watch out for you. But that name tag idea works so well. Okay. It's super simple. Okay. And think about it. Another little twist on the same thing. I know I'm going probably over length here, JJ.
You're good.
For example, the organizer of a local real estate networking group. Okay. Now I'm going to volunteer you potentially. All right. So you're talking to them. Now, you may not want to do this if this is the first time at that meeting, but, if nothing else, reach out to them or talk to them and say, hey, I was just curious, Mr. Organizer, Mrs. Organizer, do you keep a list of every member's, I'll say, real estate niche? Are they a wholesaler? Are they a rehabber? Do they do rentals? Do they have a real estate license? Do they do private money lending? So on and so forth. Okay. Do you track any of that? I would say my experience has been 90% of the time, the answer is no, we don't keep track of those records or have no idea on any of that. All right. I tell you what, I was thinking, Mr. Organizer, Mrs. Organizer, I'd be willing to put together that entire database for you for free. I'm not going to charge any money for it or anything like that. I can send out through SurveyMonkey or just through direct emails, create a little questionnaire, really short, like maybe 4 questions is all. Okay. And think about it, Mr. Organizer. You put the, I'll give this to you. Okay. It's yours. And then you can update it, et cetera. It'll just be in a simple Excel, common Excel spreadsheet format. All right. And in essence, basically, you can add to it, so on and so forth. You can also use to keep track of membership costs if that group does have a membership fee. Okay. But in essence, do that for them. Now, the reason I want to have you potentially do that is guess now who has the entire list? You do. Okay. And most of the time you can say, I'll even keep the updates. Just send me over everybody who joins the group or drops out of the group. I'll maintain the list for you for free. Yes, I'm volunteering you for time and energy and effort. But now I know who are the wholesalers, the rehabbers, so on and so on. I've got everything I need. It is just a treasure trove of information. Okay. Especially on the lending side. Okay. I mean, that is an absolute win-win-win there, in my opinion, for a little amount of effort. Now, again, for those who are more advanced, get your VA, your virtual assistant, to do all the work for you. All right. Now, again, I know some of you may not be at that point where you have a virtual assistant or someone working to do that. But again, if you have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, children yourself that are high school, college age, hey, can you help me out? Okay. I take advantage of my son. Many of you probably know my son, Bob. He's my tech support. Okay. And sometimes he's just said, Dad, just give it to me. I'll get it done. Or through our business, we have a VA, I just have the VA do it for me. It's just easier in the long run because I have better, more higher generating. You don't want to spend yourself, value your time. What do you value yourself at? Don't undervalue yourself. You're probably all worth bare minimum $50 to $100 an hour. Why are you doing a $10, $15 an hour task? Okay. So I'm sorry, I'll stop on that one, JJ. What do we got question-wise? Anything else coming up?
Cool. Hey, so if you guys are watching today, we want to thank you so much. If you're on the call, don't go away because we're going to go to the breakout rooms, which are hugely enjoyable. And please subscribe to Flip Side Up with JJ on my YouTube and join my networking group on Facebook, which is JJ's Mastermind Networking. And, try and find me on Facebook. We'll get you out into all the networking. And I want to thank everybody for being with us. So thank you so much. We'll see you guys soon. Over and out.